When the world feels like it's on edge and every headline is about some new conflict or tension, have you ever stopped to think, what happens to our money? It's a huge question, and today we're going to unpack one of the oldest answers out there: gold.
Right, let's just jump straight into it. This is the fundamental question for anyone with a stake in the market. When things get chaotic, the instinct to protect your wealth is powerful. People look for a place to hide their money. But what does that financial shelter actually look like? So, to really understand why everyone flocks to gold, we need to get our terms straight first. The concept we're talking about is a safe haven. It's exactly what it sounds like, a port in a financial storm.
Now, what's so important about this definition is that it's not just about an asset being stable. A true safe haven is something that ideally goes up when everything else is crashing down. Think of it like a seesaw. When the market goes down, you want your safe haven to go up, balancing things out.
It's also really important we don't mix up a safe haven with a hedge. A hedge is kind of like your car insurance. It's a long-term strategy to protect against the normal bumps in the road. A safe haven? That's the emergency bunker you sprint to when you hear the tornado sirens. It's for short-term, extreme crises.
So how does gold fit into this picture? Well, there's a pretty dark but fascinating reality here. Gold has a very direct, very predictable relationship with conflict. The data on this is crystal clear.
Okay, take a look at this chart. This is the Geopolitical Risk Index. You can think of it as a global fear gauge. And you can see right here, in late 2023, that needle didn't just move, it shot straight up. That's the market sensing a massive, sudden spike in global instability.
And what happened at the exact same time? Here's the other side of the story. Gold's price went on an absolute tear. The two charts are practically a mirror image. As global fear went up, the price of gold went right up with it. It's an incredible correlation.
You know, this quote from the research we looked at just says it all, doesn't it? In a world where most assets crumble under pressure, gold seems to get stronger. It literally thrives on bad news.
But let's be clear, it's not just about warfare. The bad news that gold loves can come from a lot of different places, from economic showdowns to worries about a country's own finances.
What's really at play here is a psychological principle called the flight to quality. It's a fancy term for a very simple human instinct. When we get scared, we don't want to take risks. We sell our stocks, our crypto, whatever feels risky, and we run to something that feels solid and dependable, like gold.
And that uncertainty can be sparked by all kinds of things. Remember the US-China trade war? That was a big one. Or how about worries over what analysts call fiscal dominance? That's basically the fear that a country's debt is getting so big it's starting to dictate economic policy. All of these things make investors nervous and trigger that same flight to safety.
Now, it's not just individual investors making these moves. Some of the biggest financial players in the world, we're talking entire countries and their central banks, are making huge strategic bets on gold.
A major turning point was in 2022, after heavy financial sanctions were put on Russia. That sent a shockwave through the world. Other countries looked at that and thought, wow, if all our money is in US dollars, we're exposed to political risk. So they started looking for a neutral alternative. And that alternative was gold.
And the result? A historic gold buying spree. Just look at this chart. You can see the moment central banks went into overdrive, hoarding gold at a pace we haven't seen in modern history.
And to put a number on it, we're talking about more than 1,000 tons of gold being bought by central banks every single year for 3 years in a row. That is a staggering amount of demand, and it fundamentally changes the entire gold market.
And guess what? It's not slowing down. A recent survey found that a whopping 95% of central bankers actually expect to keep buying more gold. This trend looks like it's here to stay.
So you've got everyday investors running for cover, you've got nations stockpiling gold like there's no tomorrow. What has all of this done to the price? And more importantly, where could it go from here?
Well, the result has been pretty jaw-dropping. Gold has been shattering one record high after another. As you can see here, it posted an incredible gain of over 50% year-to-date in 2025. This is what happens when all those drivers we talked about come together at once.
And looking ahead, some analysts think the party isn't over. DBS Bank, for example, is now projecting that gold could climb all the way to $4,450 an ounce by the middle of 2026. So, let's just boil this all down. What are the big takeaways? First, gold's ancient role as a safe haven is alive and well.
Second, its price is moved by two massive forces: the psychology of individual investors and the strategy of entire nations. And finally, you can basically look at the price of gold as a real-time barometer for how scared the world is.
Which leaves us with one last question to chew on. Is gold valuable because it's intrinsically precious? Or is it valuable because it's a perfect mirror, reflecting back at us our own collective fears about the future? Something to think about.
And that's a wrap on our analysis of gold's incredible run. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hey, if you enjoyed this breakdown and want more like it, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss our next one.
And we really do want to hear from you. What's another complex topic you want us to tackle? Drop a line in the comments below. We'll see you next time.